The human ship Endeavour slowly descended through Kael'thar's dense, swirling atmosphere. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating jagged mountains and vast deserts filled with strange, twisting plants. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at the front of the landing bay, his boots steady as the ship's engines roared against the violent wind. Beside him, biologist Emma Clark tightened her harness, eyes wide but focused. They were the first humans to set foot on a planet no one expected to survive. Outside, the land was alive with dangers. Shadows moved beneath the clouds, creatures that the aliens monitoring from orbit knew to be deadly. The humans stepped down carefully, Daniel taking the lead, scanning the terrain with practiced precision. Emma followed, carrying a small kit filled with scientific tools. They moved like they belonged despite the planet's harshness. Daniel set up a small, strong shelter, anchoring it against the fierce winds. Emma collected samples from the ground, noting which plants might be safe to eat and which could harm them. They worked in silence, communicating with nods and simple hand signals, a rhythm they had practiced countless times before arriving. The aliens watched, their sensors recording every movement, expecting failure. But Daniel and Emma adapted quickly. Where the land was jagged, they used rocks for support. Where streams ran with toxic minerals, they filtered water with clever devices they had brought from Earth. At night, the storm raged harder. Thunder rolled across mountains and the wind howled like living creatures. The humans huddled in their shelters, checking sensors and making small repairs. Emma examined the plants they had collected, carefully noting which ones might provide food or medicine. Daniel studied the creatures they had glimpsed from afar, understanding their patterns. The aliens whispered to each other in confusion. No other species had survived here without special suits or advanced technology. How could these fragile humans manage so easily? Days turned into weeks. Daniel and Emma built more shelters, created paths between dangerous zones, and marked areas where predators were active. They discovered small caves that offered protection from storms and observed how the planet's creatures interacted. Each day brought new threats, yet each day the humans responded with calm intelligence. They repaired broken equipment, moved food to safe areas, and learned to predict the storm's patterns. One evening, a huge predator emerged from the mist. Its body was covered in spiked armor, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Daniel and Emma froze for a moment, then calmly activated their sensors and carefully retreated to a safer position. They studied the creature's movements, noting where it hunted and how it reacted to sounds. By the next day, they had built a simple trap to guide the predator away from their shelter, learning without confrontation. The aliens observed in awe. Every action the humans took was precise, thoughtful, and efficient. While other species would have panicked or failed, Daniel and Emma seemed to thrive. The humans had no superpowers, no strange gadgets beyond what they brought from Earth, yet they were mastering Kael'thar with a patience and intelligence that stunned the watchers in orbit. As weeks passed, their shelter grew into a small, organized camp. Emma set up a system to track plants and water sources. Daniel made paths that avoided predator territories and designed basic warning alarms. The humans laughed at small mistakes, learned from them quickly, and supported each other silently with gestures and shared knowledge. Kael'thar was deadly, but they had begun to bend its dangers to their will. The aliens continued their whispers, astonished at the humans' resilience. This was not the first time they had seen humans struggle on harsh planets, but it was the first time they had seen them adapt so quickly, survive, and even plan ahead in a world that seemed made only for death. Daniel and Emma, unaware of the full extent of the Watchers, continued their careful work, every day proving that humans could survive anywhere, no matter how impossible it seemed. Weeks passed on Kael'thar, and Daniel's team grew stronger and more confident with each passing day. They moved through the jagged plains, the dense forests, and the harsh deserts, cataloging every plant and creature they encountered. Emma Clark knelt to examine a patch of strange blue flowers that seemed to thrive in the dry soil. She carefully tasted tiny amounts, noting which were safe to eat and which could make them sick. Each discovery added to their growing knowledge of the planet's dangers and resources. Daniel Hayes, ever cautious and clever, began setting simple traps and sensors to study the large predators that roamed the area. He watched their movements from a safe distance, noting patterns and hunting techniques. Mark Benson, the engineer, helped construct small observation posts that blended into the environment, allowing them to monitor dangerous creatures without putting themselves at risk. The aliens in orbit watched intently, their sensors recording every move. They were puzzled. These humans were fragile compared to their own species, yet they learned, adapted, and thrived where others would fall. Storms were frequent and violent, sweeping across the land with crushing winds and blinding lightning. Daniel taught the team to read the clouds, predict the storms, and find natural shelters that offered protection. Emma studied the effect of these storms on the flora, noting which plants survived and which could be used to create barriers or shelter materials. Each misstep, like a broken sensor or a trampled plant, was quickly corrected. Nothing was wasted, every mistake became a lesson. The humans began to form a pattern, a rhythm that matched the planet itself. They learned when to move and when to stay, which paths were safe and which were deadly. Small successes became larger ones. They harvested enough food to last several days, built water collection systems, and mapped out territories where predators were less active. Each achievement was quietly celebrated, a simple nod or smile shared between Daniel and Emma, a reminder of their growing mastery over the environment. One day, a massive predator crossed their path. Its skin was rough and dark, and its jaws were powerful. Instead of attacking immediately, the humans observed its behavior. They noted how it moved, when it rested, and what it avoided. Then, using a series of simple traps and distractions, they guided the predator away from their main camp. The aliens recorded this carefully, stunned at the humans' ability to outthink a creature designed to kill. Over time, the humans' ingenuity became clear. They modified simple tools to better serve their needs, from reinforced shelters to water filters and portable alarms. Each improvement allowed them to explore further, collect more resources, and survive longer in a world that was not meant for life as they knew it. They communicated in short, precise instructions, making teamwork efficient even in the harshest conditions. The aliens observed quietly, unable to fully comprehend the humans' adaptability. Each report back to their command center noted astonishment and confusion. How could beings so physically weaker than their own survive, adapt, and even thrive in such a lethal environment? Every day the humans lived, they challenged the expectations of the Watchers, proving that survival was not just strength or armor, it was intelligence, observation, and the ability to learn from every experience. By the end of the weeks, Daniel and Emma's team had built a strong base of knowledge about Kael'thar. They had identified safe food, water, and shelter, and had developed methods to avoid or control predators. Every creature and plant became a puzzle they could solve, and with each solution they grew more confident. The aliens in orbit took note with disbelief. The humans were not just surviving, they were learning, growing, and becoming part of Kael'thar itself. The humans moved with a quiet confidence, each step a message to the galaxy. Life finds a way even on the deadliest worlds. Night fell on Kael'thar, and the human camp was quiet except for the crackle of small fires and the hum of sensors. The sky was filled with flashes of distant lightning, and the wind carried strange sounds from the alien forests nearby. Suddenly, a massive predator emerged from the shadows. Its skin glistened in the faint light, muscles rippling, eyes glowing faintly. It moved with a deadly grace, a creature designed to kill effortlessly. Daniel Hayes noticed the movement first. He whispered to Emma Clark and engineer Mark Benson, who were preparing equipment near the camp. Calm and focused, the three quickly activated a series of signals they had set up earlier. The predator paused, sniffing the air, curious and cautious. Using bait and sound cues, Daniel and Mark guided it toward a trap they had carefully built over weeks of planning. Emma monitored the creature's reactions, making small adjustments to keep it on track. The aliens observing from orbit recorded every move, unable to believe what they were seeing. Humans, so small and seemingly fragile, were using clever strategies to control a predator that would easily overpower other species. Every step the humans took was precise, every gesture communicated silently among them. Their courage and coordination were remarkable, their minds as sharp as the predator's instincts were lethal. With careful timing, the predator entered the trap, a reinforced enclosure designed to contain it safely. It thrashed and roared, but it could not escape. Daniel signaled to Emma and Mark, who quickly secured the final barriers. Not a single human was harmed. The team exhaled quietly, aware of how close they had been to disaster, yet proud of their skill and teamwork. The aliens murmured in shock. They had expected the humans to fail. They had expected carnage. Instead, the humans had turned danger into a controlled lesson, showing intelligence and strategy in place of raw strength. Observers noted how other creatures on Kael'thar began to change their behavior, moving cautiously or avoiding areas now claimed by the humans. The presence of humans was reshaping the ecosystem. After the confrontation, Daniel and Emma reviewed the event, taking notes for future encounters. They repaired the trap, reinforced their camp, and adjusted their patrols to anticipate new predator patterns. Every challenge taught them something new, and each success increased their confidence. Survival on Kael'thar was no longer just about avoiding danger. It was about understanding it, predicting it, and using knowledge to stay ahead. The team settled for the night, fires burning low, alert but calm. Kael'thar was deadly, yet the humans had shown that even in the face of overwhelming power, intelligence and careful planning could turn the tide. Above, the alien observers recorded everything, their previous assumptions shattered. Humanity was proving that survival on a death world was not impossible. It was a matter of patience, observation, and courage. Months passed on Kael'thar, and the humans grew stronger, wiser, and more confident. Daniel Hayes and his team had not only survived the planet's deadly storms and predators but had begun to thrive. They cleared small areas of land to cultivate food, using simple techniques to grow plants that could withstand the harsh climate. Emma Clark organized the team to rotate duties, ensuring that everyone learned how to gather, prepare, and store food safely. The shelters they built were sturdy and clever, using local materials in ways that provided protection from wind, rain, and predators. Each building was simple but effective, with reinforced walls and elevated sleeping areas. Daniel created paths through dangerous zones, mapping safe routes between water sources, food areas, and resting spots. Every movement on Kael'thar became part of a routine that balanced efficiency and safety. Emma took on the role of teacher as well as scientist. She trained the team in medicine and first aid, using both Earth knowledge and observations from the planet to handle injuries or illnesses unique to Kael'thar. Bandages, simple poultices, and improvised tools became standard, and everyone learned to remain calm in emergencies. Even minor mistakes were quickly turned into lessons for the whole group. Alien analysts continued to watch from orbit, astonished at the humans' progress. Each success was logged in detail: a shelter that withstood a violent storm, a predator avoided or guided safely away, a crop that grew despite toxic soil. The aliens compared the humans' adaptability to their own species' norms and found the results shocking. Humans were not just surviving, they were learning the planet's rhythms and using knowledge to stay ahead of danger. Kael'thar's storms, predators, and toxic plants had once been threats that killed without mercy. Now they were obstacles the humans navigated with care and respect. The team observed predators from a distance, noting their hunting patterns and avoided unnecessary conflict. They used the environment to their advantage, creating barriers with fallen logs or natural formations, and adjusting strategies based on observation rather than force. Even the fiercest creatures seemed to acknowledge the humans' presence, moving differently near their camp or hunting elsewhere. This quiet dominance was not achieved by violence but by intelligence and understanding. The humans' movements were deliberate, precise, and respectful of the life around them. Each day brought small victories: a new safe path discovered, a storm weathered without damage, a predator studied without harm. By the end of the months, Daniel, Emma, and the team had built a system that allowed them to live with confidence on Kael'thar. They had learned to read the weather, understand the terrain, and predict animal behavior. The aliens' reports grew increasingly detailed, filled with disbelief at the humans' abilities. What had been a death world was now a place where humans not only survived but prospered, proving once again that intellect, observation, and careful planning could turn even the deadliest world into a home. Years had passed on Kael'thar, and the humans had left a lasting mark on the planet. What had once been a wild, deadly landscape now showed signs of careful human activity. Small settlements were spread across the land, constructed with simple, durable materials that blended with the environment. The humans had adapted without destroying the planet, learning to live in harmony with the dangerous world around them. Daniel Hayes and Emma Clark walked through the terrain with their team, surveying areas that had once seemed impossible to cross. They moved confidently through forests where predators once roamed freely, across rocky plains where storms had ripped through the land, and along rivers with toxic water, now carefully filtered and mapped. Every step reflected the humans' understanding and respect for Kael'thar. The team had grown skilled at predicting storms, avoiding dangerous creatures, and finding resources where none seemed to exist. Alien scouts watched from orbit, sending detailed reports filled with disbelief. No other species they had observed could thrive on such a world without advanced technology or massive numbers. Yet humans did not need those advantages. They relied on intelligence, teamwork, and courage, adapting to challenges with calm determination. Every victory over the planet's hazards, every successful harvest, safe passage, and observation of predators, was proof of their resilience. The humans' influence on Kael'thar extended beyond survival. They had created zones where the ecosystem was respected, where predators and prey could continue their cycles without interference. Emma had trained her team to handle medical emergencies, study the planet's biology, and improve life for all species that shared the environment. Daniel had mapped safe routes, designed shelters, and guided exploration, always mindful of the balance of nature. Stories of the humans spread quietly through the alien networks. Other species took note of their methods. Humans could endure extreme heat, survive storms that would kill others, and adapt to threats too dangerous for conventional strategies. They learned from mistakes, celebrated small successes, and used intellect over force. The aliens could only watch in awe as the humans turned a death world into a place where life could flourish under careful guidance. Daniel and Emma's legacy was clear. They were not heroes because of physical strength but because of vision, planning, and courage. They had proven that intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation could overcome challenges no one else dared face. Even the fiercest creatures seemed to recognize the humans as part of the landscape, altering their behavior in acknowledgement of the humans' presence. The universe learned a lesson from Kael'thar. Humans were not just survivors, they were masters of adaptation. They could face any environment, understand it, and thrive where no other species could. The aliens recorded everything their earlier assumptions shattered. The humans' quiet persistence, ingenuity, and courage had transformed a world meant for death into a stage where humanity's true strength shone. Kael'thar stood as a testament to human potential. Each shelter, path, and cultivated plant told a story of intelligence and patience. Every human on the planet moved with knowledge and respect, leaving footprints of a species that could endure, adapt, and conquer challenges with wisdom rather than brute force. Alien observers, once expecting failure, now watched in silent respect. Humanity had proven that true strength was more than muscle. It was courage, ingenuity, and the ability to learn and adapt.